Get all the news and controversy of the NFL right here on the Blitz Zone with your hosts, Eric Rosen and Jamie Hickson, as they discuss the hot topics concerning your favorite players and team, the winners, the losers, the big plays, and the big hits from around the league. Right here, only on the Blitz Zone.
It's Friday, December 4th, 2015. It's that time of the hour for your favorite NFL and college football program. Welcome to another edition of the Blitz Zone. Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Rosen, and we're coming to you live from the studios of CTV in Staten Island, New York. And with me, as always, is my co-host, my main man and friend, Mr. Jamie, the sportsman, Hickson.
Always a pleasure working with you, Eric. And it seems like once again the league does not fail to produce any sort of drama. And boy, was there drama in last night's game. But as always with the league, there's some controversy. And as a certain wrestling manager and executive once said, controversy creates cash. And it also creates for some really stimulating conversation, which we're going to get to in a few moments.
Oh, without a doubt. There has been some questionable officiating. There have been some crazy last-minute games like the Hail Mary, the kick six from Monday, and many other surprising moves. But let's start with the news of the past week, starting with the ownership meeting that took place Wednesday in Irving, Texas, where the main topic was which of the three teams will be moving into the City of Angels. Will it be the beloved San Diego Chargers, the Oakland Raiders, or maybe the St. Louis Rams?
Well, as far as who should move to LA and who might be moving, that's anybody's guess. But if I could be serious for a moment, two teams would make the most sense. One is the Rams, because they have an almost 50-year history in the City of Angels. Another is the Raiders, simply because they're the most marketable team. The Raiders have always been the most marketable because they're the ones that have a championship history. And this is before 2003 when they went belly up. As far as the Chargers are concerned, do not kill whatever vibes are left in the city of San Diego. All they have going for them is the Chargers and the Padres. You cannot take one of their teams away from them. In spite of the fact that they've been a little bit blasé when it comes to certain sports, San Diego does have a very proud and very, very faithful franchise. I mean, they've been there for the Padres from the very beginning. They draw 60 to 70,000 at Qualcomm Stadium for the Chargers easily. Yeah, but don't kill that franchise and their fan base like that. Well, it's unfair.
I'm sorry, but I had to disagree. It's not the Chargers. Yeah, partially the Chargers' fault, but it's the city of San Diego's fault in their inability to build a new stadium. That stadium where they play Qualcomm is falling apart, just like the stadium where the Raiders play in the Coliseum. Both stadiums falling apart. As for the Rams, their capacity, they don't even meet capacity. Their fans are absent. That's why they're moving to Los Angeles, because they think they could build a franchise there. As for the Chargers,
is it definite that they're moving to LA, or is there still up? Is it still up in the air right now? And speaking of San Diego, they can't have it both ways. Either they want their franchise remaining in the city or they don't. They've got to start showing some respect to them. Yeah. But, of course, to give respect, they've got to get respect, too.
Well, they did win this past week against the Jaguars, ending their 6-game losing streak, 31-25. That's for one thing. But, two, they just fired their special teams coordinator. That's a whole other issue that we'll get into in a bit. But the problem right now is, first, these cities teams have to make a final proposal that's due on the 28th of December. Those proposals won't even be submitted until January 4th, and then the vote won't even take place till January 12th till 13th at the next ownership meeting in Houston. So that's when the official vote will take place. All three owners are actually at the meeting on Wednesday. We're told to go out of the room for a second while the rest of the owners spoke amongst themselves and were frank about this move. So that was one of the things that was discussed. But I'll tell you, honestly, the team that's going to probably go, St. Louis. Stan Kroenke has a vested interest in Inglewood, and he even said, out of good faith at the meeting, he's willing to offer equal partnership in the proposed stadium. So right there, that is a notch right there for Stan Kroenke that he's willing to do that. And as for Dean Spanos and Mark Davis, let's see where they head. Maybe there is a possibility if San Diego stays, but the problem is they got to rebuild that stadium. They also got to rebuild that convention center when they have Comic-Con there, too. But that's amongst many things San Diego has to do. Mm-hmm. They have a great fan base. That's true. They have a rich military history in that city.
Ergo, the military-style unis that the San Diego Padres wear for certain games. I'm surprised that the Chargers haven't done that for any of their games in the past.
I know, especially considering November is, Military Appreciation Month. Well, every team has actually donned military-style uniforms, or at least the coaches have had like camouflage on their jackets, and you've seen the hats that they wear, including the ribbons that have been camouflaged in November. But yeah, I would like to see more camouflage-style jerseys for Phil Rivers and company. Among the many other issues, they also discussed a new proposal to trim the anti-tampering period from free agency from 3 days to 2 days.
Yeah.
So this is a big improvement, and it's getting a rash of big deals because of this. They also are proposing that compensatory draft picks are traded beginning in 2017.
That's an interesting concept right there, considering that some of these compensatory draft picks have proven to be real diamonds in the rough in the past.
Oh, without a doubt. I think, you see in baseball when they have the qualifying offer, when a person doesn't accept the $15.3 million offer, those baseball teams get a compensatory draft pick. Yep. So this could really make more than break any potential team, in this league.
And as it turns out, the compensatory draft pick, which occurs in baseball, has resulted in gold for one team and silver for another so many different times.
And one more final thing they discussed, officiating, which has been the problem. We saw last night in the game we'll get into the details of the game, but the call that really was the most questionable was the face mask that was done onto Aaron Rodgers' helmet, even though it doesn't look like he even did it. For some people even thought it was on the shoulder pads.
Yeah, it was on the shoulder pads.
And it led to the eventual game-winning Hail Mary touchdown for 64 yards to Richard Rodgers. Rodgers to Rodgers. Mm-hmm. But we'll get more into that in a bit. And this past week, the NFL announced one of the 3 halftime acts, Coldplay, Chris Martin's group, that's known for their hit single Yellow in 2000, amongst many others that they've had in the past.
Don't get me wrong. Coldplay has had a productive career in the recording industry, and you mentioned that song that they did. They also did Clocks. They did The Scientist, Viva la Vida, which...
I love that song.
Yeah, Viva la Vida is probably one of my favorite tracks of theirs, but what is the purpose of inviting a British-based musical group to an American football and not just American football, but an American showcase in general? It's become such a high thing for American celebrities around here. It's become the place for people to go in the first weekend of February. Where does a British rock band like Coldplay really figure into this? I mean, granted, they've had guys from outside of the States before. I mean, they had Celine Dion do God Bless America a few years ago. If I'm not mistaken, I think Elton John also played the Super Bowl many years ago, didn't he?
Not just Elton John, but you also had the Rolling Stones.
The Rolling Stones, too.
The Who were terrible, by the way, in their halftime show. Like, Roger Daltrey's vocals were way off.
You think it's about a high time that Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend really call it a career?
No, it was just that was just a one night terrible performance from them. But overall, they are one of the greatest rock bands, especially with Baba
O'Reilly, yeah,
and that they played. But then you had Tom Petty's an American band, and I loved when Tom Petty played, and I liked when Prince played the Super Bowl one year. And,
yeah.
But of course, the person that we all have to thank for the explosion of these big artists was when Michael Jackson was the first to do the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, he was probably the first one to really turn the house out when he played Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 27 or 28 when the Cowboys obliterated the Bills.
It was definitely that was the 27. And what was crazy about that's what began this streak of not the traditional marching bands that you had in the first Super Bowl. You had all these high-priced mainstream acts that came and played the Super Bowl. And we've had international performers in the Super Bowl. We have nothing against international performers. It's the fact that Coldplay, when you could have had Metallica, a band
Thank you.
from the Bay Area performing. And I'm not the only one. There were people all over social media who were in favor of Metallica playing.
Or better yet, have some act from the California area. You and I had talked about this earlier. Why not have Tony Bennett sing "I Left My Heart in San Francisco" during halftime, even though they're in Santa Clara, which is about 45 minutes away?
I don't know if they're gonna do definitely on a pre-show.
Well, it's just an idea.
It's definitely that song would be awesome to hear him sing that. That's for sure. Or have him before America's the Beautiful. Have him sing that song.
Yes, that would be wonderful
with Lady Gaga, because the two of them are just great together.
They've been working together quite a bit.
But overall, let's see how this works. Maybe it won't be as bad as we imagined with Coldplay. Maybe it might be one of the greatest performances ever. But the other two acts, yeah, definitely California or Fall Out Boy.
There you go.
I want to see Fall Out Boy at the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. They played. Remember the opening game of the baseball season because they were from the Chicago area.
That's right.
They were in the Cubs' first game of the year. I want to see them play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Who knows what they're going to do, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome as always. The 50th Super Bowl. Now, this week, some firings that took place on the coordinator side. Yet again, more offensive and defensive and special teams coordinators fired. This time, Bill Lazor joining Kevin Coyle, who already was fired weeks ago. He got handed his pink slip this past Monday after they lost to the Jets 38-20.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin Spencer, the Chargers special teams coordinator, got fired this past Wednesday, even though they defeated Jacksonville last week 31-25. When you had to fire your special teams coordinator,
you know that something's definitely wrong.
And in injury news, Gronkowski, of course, in their 30-24 overtime loss for the Patriots against the Broncos, Gronk, unfortunately, in the second half, injured his knee. He will be out only 1 week. He's the fourth straight Patriots offense player to be injured in as many weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Josh McCown, unfortunately, is out for the season with a broken collarbone, the same injury that Tony Romo had, who also is out for the season, too, by the way. Yep, Josh McCown and the Browns, of course, lost on Monday night, 33-27, due to the kick six play by Will Hill.
Right.
And that's all the news of the past week. Now let's go into week number 12 recap, starting with the kick six performance Monday night, Ravens-Browns. We all thought that Travis Coons was going to get a 51-yard field goal, game-winning field goal with 3 seconds. Blocked by defensive end Brent Urban, picked up by Will Hill, 64 yards down the left sideline as time expired. The Browns lose to the Ravens, 33-27.
Well, let me put it this way. I feel so awful for that fan base. And when you think about it, Austin Davis wasn't really terrible, but at the same time, it seems like if there's not one thing, it's another for that poor franchise and their fan base.
On social media, a fan ripped his jersey Hulk Hogan style.
Oh, brother. And it probably wasn't to show off his 24-inch pythons either.
Nope, it was just to show how pissed he was that he was a Browns fan at the dog pound. It's unbelievable. You do feel 24 quarterbacks, 9 head coaches since they came back into the league, 4 offensive coordinators in as many years. Yeah, the revolving door of quarterbacks and coaches and coordinators that they've had and players, and the fact that they're dead last against the run, all the litany of issues they've had. While the Ravens this was a good win for them. It was definitely a huge kick six from Will Hill, who originally was with the Miami Dolphins weeks ago when he got traded by them. So redemption for him. Great. Thanksgiving. Eagles got served all right. that night by the lines, 45-14, with 3 touchdowns by Calvin Johnson, including the leaping 25-yarder in the end zone, and 5 by Matthew Stafford. Man, Sanchez was just poor. Even though the touchdown he had in the end, that was when the game was pretty much out of hand.
Not to say that this is going to be much of an improvement, but there's been some talk about how much longer Sam Bradford is going to be out. I had misdiagnosed his injury. I thought that he had a concussion. He actually has a shoulder problem. If it's not one thing, it's another for poor Sam Bradford. But I do know he's so at best for this coming Sunday. Not to say that he's going to be much of an improvement over Mark Sanchez, but
I think he'll be he'll be light years ahead of Sanchez, considering the way he played. He fumbled. He lost the fumble yet again on Thanksgiving. You know, if it's not
amazing.
Yeah, he's always will be known for the butt fumble with the Jets against the Patriots on Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
A game that I would rather not even talk about further, but
yeah, well, I hate to say this, but that's just another notch in the belt of incompetence that has just plagued the Jets. But as far as this game is concerned, at least the Lions were able to show a little bit of a spark in the 3 games that they won before last night, which we have to touch on.
Definitely. Panthers, of course, you talk about the main course of the day. They definitely served the Cowboys 33-14 with a victory. Luke Kuechly had 2 of the 3 picks off of Tony Romo, the first being dropping back into coverage for the 32-yard pick 6 on the day. You also had Kirk Coleman, who got a pick 6 off of Tony Romo, and yet another interception by Kuechly on the second straight time, his second one of the game. And Cameron Newton, man, even had a 4-yard run that made it 30-6 in the game. Unfortunately, Tony Romo re-injured the same collarbone that kept him out for 7 games.
Now he's out for the rest of the season.
And it's Matt Castle for the rest of the year. Man, as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours in Dallas.
Far be it from me to actually feel sorry for any star quarterback on a bitter enemy that the Giants have, like the Cowboys, but Tony Romo, quite frankly, deserves so much better. Could it be that maybe he just came back a little bit too soon from his collarbone injury? I mean, these are some really painful injuries that need time to heal.
And here's the crazy thing. They're not even putting him on season-ending reserve.
Why not?
Because they're 2 games out in the NFC least.
I hate to tell you this, but maybe it's best that they just cut their losses, for lack of a better word, and just approach these last 4 games?
Yeah, 5 games, yeah.
The last 5 games of the year with a different mentality. Play for some pride as opposed to just a playoff spot. I hate to say this, but right now, this is not even close to being a playoff team.
And how about the Green Bay Packers at home with you had Bart Starr, you had Brett Favre at halftime. Favre got his number 4 retired. Mm-hmm. Great ceremony.
Yeah.
But in the end, unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers tried to get a game-winning play to Devontae Adams in the cold rain, deflected off his hands, and James Jones couldn't even hang on to the potential touchdown on 3rd down. They ended up losing 17-13 to the Chicago Bears. Even Rodgers' left arm in the second half felt numb after a hit from Lamar Houston. Only 1 touchdown in the game. Got to give it up to Cutler and the team. They've won 3 out of their past 4 games.
Yep.
Adam Gase is doing a great job as their offensive coordinator. He's going to be a head coach next year for certain.
We'll see.
As for the Raiders and the Titans, well, let's put it this way. Penalties will definitely kill you. Ask B.W. Webb that because he got called for a holding play when the Titans were leading 21-17. 2 plays later, Derek Carr throws a game-winning 12-yard touchdown pass to Seth Roberts with 1:21 left. The Raiders beat the Titans 24-21, and the Titans lost their 11th straight at home.
Well, at least the Raiders were able to bounce back with some sort of momentum, but quite frankly, you look at their record; they're pretty much a byproduct of what's been a pretty soft schedule for them this season. But A win is a win. They'll take them any way they can get them.
Oh, they've had several games where a win's a win, and they had some great performances too. You know what, Derek Carr, I always find to be a good quarterback. I know you and I have had our disagreements in the past about Derek Carr, but
I still don't like him as a quarterback. Sorry, but they could talk about his improvements all they want, but I still see a lot of deficiencies in that kid's game.
don't worry, folks. I'll make Jamie into a Derek Carr believer at some point.
It's not going to happen. I'm not a fan of his. He's just not that impressive.
That just shows his love for him.
No.
I'm just.
He's not that impressive, I'm telling you. He's inaccurate. I mean, granted, he's got some athletic ability, but he's inaccurate. Sometimes his decision-making just defies all logic.
Yeah, but you know what? The first year when he came in, yes, he made some bad throws. He was a rookie. He was a rookie with nothing at all in terms of an arsenal of receivers. Now this year, he's actually loaded with receivers. When you got Michael Crabtree, you got Amari Cooper has really been a great pickup for him. And Seth Roberts is doing his job. Latavius Murray is doing a great job. It's their defense at times that's been questionable. Really questionable is their defense. How about the Bills and the Chiefs in this game? Alex Smith and the Chiefs shut out Sammy Watkins in the second half after he had 6 catches and 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half.
That's called defensive adjustments. That's called halftime adjustments, and that's what the Chiefs did. And not only that,
They won 30-22.
30-22. Not only that, but it was a byproduct of just better quarterback play from Alex Smith than from E.J. Manuel or Tyrod Taylor.
I know. And how about this? The Colts in the Golden 40s with Matt Hasselbeck and Adam Vinatieri lead the Colts to a 25 total victory. Hasselbeck 2 touchdowns, 350 yards, his first 300-yard game in 4 years. Vinatieri 16 consecutive field goals. With 8, man, they just get better and better with age, like a fine bottle of scotch.
Amazing what Hasselbeck has been able to do at his age. Keep in mind, this is a guy that led the Seahawks to a Super Bowl appearance a decade ago. The guy can play. He's shown that he can win big games before, and this is no exception. And what can we say about Adam Vinatieri that has not already been said? He's probably the single most underappreciated player at his position in that sport. The many big kicks that he has made in his career with the Patriots and now the Colts just cement him as a future Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, yeah.
I'll tell you, though, the Buccaneers could have won that game. They had a potential touchdown play slip on 3rd down through the hands of Mike Evans on 3rd and 6 that forced them to a 54-yard field goal. Mm-hmm. They had a chance to win this game or at least be in this game, and they messed up a few times. And the offensive line gave up 5 sacks, 4 of which were in the second half to Jameis Winston. Yep. You can't be able to play that well when you're getting hit that many times. Mm-hmm. The Saints.
By the way, Adam Vinatieri is approaching his 43rd birthday in the next 3 weeks.
Unbelievable. The Saints, for the first time in over a decade, didn't even score against the Texans. Lost 24-6. Brian Hoyer, even on the opening drive, 7 of 7 with a 10-yard touchdown pass to Ryan Griffin and 2 sacks by J.J. Watt, the master, who has 13.5. It's good to see that the Texans are now finding their stride, while the Saints, even with a new defensive coordinator, are just down in the dumps.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings, of course, defeat the Atlanta Falcons 2010 on the 158-yard performance by Adrian Peterson all day with 2 touchdowns.
There's a reason why he's called all-day Adrian, because he's going to be running through rushing defenses all day, every day.
And how about the fact that Matt Ryan, the last 2 weeks, he's thrown 5 interceptions, 2 in this game alone, including on a pass when he was scrambling to his left and trying to force pass to Jacob Tamme in the end zone. Mm-hmm. And it was picked off by Terrence Newman.
There's got to be something mechanically wrong with Ryan there. Either he's not seeing the field well, or there may be something going on with his arm. Not really sure.
They've lost 5 out of their last 6 after starting 5-0. Mm-hmm. They could be the first team in as many years to not make the playoffs.
Amazing.
With that kind of history. How about the Bengals beating the Rams and taking them out 31-7, including Andy Dalton's 3 touchdown passes on the day, 2 of which went to A.J. Green, of all people, of course, and 3 interceptions the Bengals defense had off of Nick Foles, including one that was in the end zone.
Now, do you see why I was not so enamored of Nick Foles when he first made his mark, sort of, a few years ago with the Eagles? The guy is just complete fool's gold. Not only that, but
A pick six he even threw in the game.
a pick six he even threw in the game. Not only that, but nice to see the Bengals round themselves back to form, so to speak. This is probably one of the best years that Andy Dalton has had as a quarterback in his career.
And the Chargers, of course, coming into Jacksonville with a 6-game losing streak. You know, the last time that happened with San Diego, they were playing Jacksonville in 2011. And the same thing happened back then that did this week. The Chargers won 31-25, including Phillip Rivers' 4 touchdown passes, 2 to Antonio Gates. In fact, they had all 3 of their touchdown plays in the red zone when they were there, as opposed to Jacksonville. They were 1 of 4. They're one of the worst teams in terms of offense in the red zone, one of the worst teams in terms of defense. They give up 46% in the red zone as a defense. What does that tell you right there?
It tells you that it's all about defense.
Yep, and it tells you that inside the 20, their defense just does not come alive to force field goals. And so San Diego won 31-25. Good for them. How about the Cardinals beating the 49ers 19-13, including a game-winning 8-yard run by Carson Palmer?
Amazing.
2:20 left.
Absolutely amazing what Carson Palmer has been able to do in that Cardinal franchise. And I would say that it's just about a matter of time before the Cardinals really establish themselves as the class of the NFC West.
I think they are there. They're already leading the NFC West. I think they're going to take the division. San Francisco, talk about a rainy, piss-poor year that they've had.
Wow.
13 penalties they committed in this game, too. And Blaine Gabbert, not the answer.
Well, obviously he wouldn't be the answer after leading his teams to 17 and 13 points in consecutive games. I mean, what do you expect? It's Blaine Gabbert, a guy who did nothing in Jacksonville.
I know. How about this game, the Steelers-Seahawks game? What a performance by Roethlisberger. Despite the fact that the Steelers did lose, he had 456 yards. That's the most Seattle has ever given up in their entire history. And they did pull with 2 minutes left. And you know what? They pulled Roethlisberger, unfortunately, 2 minutes left. He did get a concussion, and they had to do the protocol, and they had Landry Jones in the game. He was picked off twice by including Richard Sherman, who had his first pick of the year. He didn't have a pick till this game.
Well, it just goes to show you what the difference is between Ben Roethlisberger and Landry Jones. If Big Ben were in that game, that turnover doesn't happen.
But also the decision to not go for it on 4th down when they kicked the field goal, that did cost them.
Yeah.
Really dearly, you know. They were down 32-27. They should have went for the touchdown at that time. But in the end, Wilson had a career at 5 touchdowns, 2 to Doug Baldwin and 3 to 3 to Baldwin and 2 to Jermaine Kearse in that game. It was a great performance by him in the squad. 39-30, they won. In overtime, New England finally lost their first game, 30-24 on the game-winning rushing touchdown by C.J. Anderson with about 12:32 to go in the game.
What a fun game that was. Aside from the fact that it was played in the snow, how about Brock Osweiler engineering the game-winning drive in extra time? And the best part, at the very end, who was the first person to shake Brock Osweiler's hand after the game?
Tom Brady.
Just goes to show you how much respect Tom Brady has for guys who really play their A game against him.
Well, that's, everybody can say what they want about Brady, that he's this and that. But you know what? I do respect the guy. I don't have animosity towards him. I know as a Jets fan, I'm required to have animosity towards him, I guess. Or maybe that's not the case for all Jets fans. But you know what? I happen to respect the guy. I don't hate him. I don't think he's, a terrible human being or this. Well, aside from his personal picadillos, in terms of his personal picadillos, that's a whole other story. But
aside from the fact that the Patriots have been involved or been implicated, rather, in not 1, not 2, but maybe at least 3 different cheating scandals in recent years.
But the fact of the matter remains, New England lost their first game. Denver was able to win it. Osweiler's won 2 straight. Let's see where this kid can take this team. He's 25 years old right now. No, 23 years old. Let's see where it goes for him. As for the Giants, of course, they were down 20-0. Then the fourth quarter, Eli Manning gets 2 fourth-quarter touchdown passes to Odell Beckham Jr., especially one of the greatest catches I've ever seen Corral ever.
He's a freak of human nature.
And they ended up still losing 2014 because Manning threw some big picks in the game, including one in the end zone.
Yeah, 3 of them, 2 of which were not even his fault. They should have been caught, first of all, by his receivers. But that third one, you have to fault the receiver on that because the receiver made 0 effort to try and come back to the ball.
Yeah, but on 3rd and goal at the 4, when you're at Washington's 4-yard line, you throw a